she's still missing and we need all the help we can get to find her. Why don't you do something productive instead of destructive? Why don't you do that? But I don't want to play with you no more. I'm tired of you. And you can go tell your little friend, Lisa Kay, that she needs to be doing something productive instead of destructive as well. I don't want to play with her no more either. Right? I'm tired of you guys. I'm tired of you and her. That's a problem I've always had. You know. I don't like to play with mean kids in the sandbox, right? I don't like mean kids in the sandbox.
Don't play with my crow.
And it's actually it's no fun to play with them when you always win, right? When you're always building the best sandcastle. It's no fun playing with them no more. And we done won, right? We done won, so we don't want to play with them now. Anyhow, yeah, thank God the boys are safe. Thank God they are safe. But you know, I think they could have made this a beautiful, cheerful space. You know, they could have put a big closet at the one end of this room where you go out the back door, the basement door there. They could have put a big closet there. Matter of fact, like a wraparound closet, right? And had, you know, like I said, it would have holded all of Summer's clothes. It would have held her shoes. It could have even had some little drawers in it that she could pull out for her hairbreadths, right? And just, you know, her little toys she could put in there, and so forth and so on. Her hairbrush and comb and, you know, little mirror, whatever she wanted to keep. You know, they could have made that really beautiful. And right here where this TV is another, some more space there. There's some more space there, you know, and they could always, you know, if they did the double like closet type thing, they could have had like a TV shelf. They could have had a closet, like a corner closet type thing built where one part's a closet like that, and then it comes around, and it could have been like, you know, the bottom part with yours, and then a TV, you know, a TV shelf, and then over top of the TV shelf, you know, it could have been extra little shelves, you know, for her baby dolls and things like that. That would have been really nice. And Don Wells, you know, supposedly in the field he was in, he could have had all of that stuff done very cheap. And this basement would have, you know, that would have looked like a real room for a princess if he, you know, if they would have took their money and, you know, invested it into doing good stuff for themselves and their children instead of going down to Fred's and over to Andy's to get shit that they didn't really need, right? They didn't need to be doing a bunch of illegal substances. They needed to be putting the money into this home right here to make their children and themselves a better life. They needed to be putting, you know, a real refrigerator and stove up in the kitchen and filling it up, you know, with good food and so forth. So that, you know, Jody Sue, I tell you, if I was living over on that hill, what Jody Sue would have been hearing, seeing, and smelling. She'd have been smelling some damn good barbecue coming in her direction. She'd have been hearing a lot of fun and laughter over on my hill.
You know.
She would have been hearing cheerfulness and happiness. And she would have been seeing that her ass wasn't welcomed. nor her old man's ass, right?
Fuck you.
Because we don't affiliate ourselves with evil human beings like that.
Well, you are evil. Because all my
That's what
friends
they'd
are
have been
eating.
hearing,
All my
seeing, and
friends are
smelling.
eating. Take it slow.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
I'd have had a big old freezer. I'd had a big old freezer full of stuff for the winter time on off that hill during the winter.
And when
Other than to pick up some milk and bread and maybe, you know, some miscellaneous stuff. But for the biggest part, my pantries and my freezer and my refrigerator would have been full of everything me and my children needed to survive those winters up there.
You act like winter's so fucking hard, dude. It really ain't. Like, are you fucking... Or just a bit
I don't know how those kids survived.
It's not
I have
hard,
no
you
idea.
dumbass. Winter ain't that hard up here, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
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 He did say that. He did say that. That she, you know, yeah. Look at this. That right there's the bed that I'm talking about. That thing should have been thrown out. That thing should have been garbaged before it ever came in the house, if you ask me.
It's a wooden framed bunk bed.
Don Wells knew how to knock some boards together and make some makeshift ass beds. What he should have done is had his daughter a beautiful closet down here to put all of her things in, her clothes and all of her stuff. She should have had a TV stand down there to hold a TV set for her. You know, this should have really been a beautiful room, and there should have been carpet. There should have been carpet on the floor. Double pad and carpet on that floor for that little girl. But there wasn't. There was none of that, right?
What up, Liz?
They didn't care. They didn't think about it. Look at that mess. And, you know, let us remember that right after Summer went missing, let us remember Candace donated all of her stuff, right, to needy children.
What up?
She donated, and what she didn't donate, she went out and put in a shed. When you take something out and put it in the garage, or you put it in the shed, that means that the next stop is the garbage, right? Because you ain't going to bring that shit back into your house. You're not bringing it back in. You're putting it out there. Most people, like, you know, for myself, you know, I'll put everything, you know, I take everything and put it in the, you know, in the shed or whatever. If I'm going to have a yard sale, right? I'll put it all out there, and then me and my daughter, you know, we'll go out and price it all, and then, you know, the following weekend or whatever, we have a giant yard sale. You know, sometimes it's a big community one, and you know, and we just let it go. You know, pennies on the dollar, and what doesn't, you know, doesn't sell, then, you know, it gets put by the garbage, right? It gets put by the garbage, and people, you know, people pick it all up. Most of the time they pick it all up, but, you know, it depends on what day it is, and you know, if the garbage men get there before the other people do. So, you know, but once something goes into a shed or garage, the next garbage can. We all know that. You're just not going to, you know, You're not going to pack it back into your home. You don't want it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, what could be in it? Type thing. And like I said, there's like a community yard sale thing going on or something, then like I said, I will, that's when I'll take everything I don't want to the shed, price it up, and then take it from there. The following weekend, take it from there, and put it in the sale, and what, like I said, what doesn't go,
oh, I know,
just throw it out, because why are you packing it back up? Why are you I ain't packing it back up. It was an opportunity to, get rid of a lot of things so you can bring some new things in, right? So you could bring some new stuff. It was an opportunity to, get rid of a lot of stuff that, that's just laying around the house. Everybody knows how that goes. Your kids, they really want this or they want that, and the next thing you know, that thing's just there, and it's there, and it's there, and you keep saying, I'm going to get rid of that, right? I'm going to get rid of that. And at some point you do. At some point you pack it up and you put it in a yard sale, or you put it in the garbage, and you forget about it. So you can make space. You can make space, with all the waste. I mean, all of us do it. Our kids grow out of the clothes. Our kids, go out of everything. You get tired of looking at stuff, right? You go out and you pick out stuff, and you get tired of looking at it, or else you bring new stuff in and it don't match. It don't match with the other stuff you got. So you need to, now you're disappointed, want to get the stuff that it don't match with out of your home, and we all know what it is. But these guys right here, the day Summer went missing, her stuff was gone.
Her stuff is still there.
I mean, it was getting donated. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. The Idaho 4, it was really terrible how their parents got done, right? It was really terrible how their parents were done. I feel so sorry for these families, because they closed up that house, right? They closed up that house as a crime scene. And they wouldn't the parents weren't allowed to get their children's stuff, right? None of their kids' stuff. And, and they don't know what happened to a lot of the stuff, that belonged to their children, and so forth and so on. I mean, what I'm saying is, they wanted memories, right? They wanted memories. And the one girl, that was with Maddie, it was Maddie's mother. I don't think so. I think it was Kaylee's mother. Kaylee had went out, I think, and bought a sweatshirt, and she was on an open, FaceTime with her mom, and her mom seen this, beautiful sweatshirt she had bought, and oh, that's beautiful. And next thing she knew, her daughter grabbed the scissors and started, making a top into like a crop top.
Why you lie?
And she said, "What are you doing?" And she said her daughter was laughing, and laughing and laughing, because her mom was so surprised that she was altering, the sweatshirt to make it more comfortable, and more teen, more teen young adult looking. And And, she just wanted that sweatshirt. And somehow she was able
Yeah, that's all
to
you
get it.
hear.
But she said it was like the
You
only
know,
thing,
you know,
the only thing
you
she
know.
really was able to get her hands on. But she was thanking God, for it, because it was one of the last memories, that she had with her daughter. And that stuff, you don't know how much that
You
stuff
know,
means to those families. And they were held back from it.
you know.
And now they're getting held back from the answers as to why this guy did what he did to these four innocent people that done nothing at all to him.
Right.
They're not even going to get that because he decided to take a plea deal to keep from going to trial and to keep from,
You know.
having to explain some
Why
things.
PG sounds so
And, it was all win. It was all win for Brian and no win at
PG, why you
all
sound so
for the
defeated?
families, right? And that's,
Yeah.
that's sad. And it even brought our president of the United States out. Donald
Why you
Trump
sound so
came out
defeated?
on this particular case saying,
You know.
I think the family does deserve answers. I think the judge should make this guy tell why he did it.
PG drinking game. Sorry.
Something is better than nothing. Anything is better than nothing. And these families right now, they need something, no matter what it is, even if it ain't the truth, they need something. And Donald Trump understands that. And I understand it. But I think it's a shame.
Yeah.
I
No. How much you bar?
I think he was too. I agree with you, Bridget. Absolutely. And I think also that I think Brian Colbert went into that restaurant, the vegan restaurant where Maddie worked, and I think that he might have, been giving her, been tipping her and talking to her and, smiling at her and they're having to pay her bill. This is how she makes her money, by being real nice to people and on their food and she looks forward to those tips. And I think, at some point he may have suggested, so got turned down. He may have, got turned down and then felt used and abused and, and angry. And that, and it just set him off. And that's why you got to be real careful, you know. You got to be real careful when you're working at these places, you got to keep all of these people at, arm length. You got to be,
That would cause blackout drunk.
the best suggestion that I can give, a young lady working in a place like that would be maybe to wear a wedding ring, even if she's not married.
Yeah.
Wear a wedding ring. So that, you don't attract anyone, right? There's a rule. You don't date your coworkers and you don't date your customers.
Right.
When you're working somewhere, you don't date customers and you don't date workers.
Right.
You shouldn't ever crap where you eat. If it doesn't work out, it makes bad all the way around. It makes your job harder. So, I suggest that, girls, young adult girls possibly just wear a ring
We know that.
and keep these people, you know,
Oh,
at a distance. It's very dangerous, you know. And these young
listen,
girls, you know,
darling,
they seem to get into these,
is
they
when
seem to work at these sports bars and stuff like that, you know. And I can't, you know, say that it ain't really good money, because it is. You know, I did my share of a little bit of everything
now,
in my teenage years and young adulthood. You know, I've had many different jobs for a while.
now,
And,
now,
you know, you make really good money when you're working for tips. You make really good money.
now,
And, you know, but sometimes it ain't worth it. What you have to endure and go through, you know, for those tips,
now,
just sometimes ain't worth it. You've got some very vulgar human beings in this world that, you know, um,
now,
that say just, you know, some of the things they say to you, and some of the things they, you know, they have the audacity to ask you and so forth, you know. Um, you have to put up with a lot. You have to put up with a lot, you know, for what you're doing, especially when you're female. When you're female, a lot harder, you know, because men always
now,
men always see themselves as dominant
how am
over
I
you. And
talking
a
shit
lot
on
of
my
times, a lot of men, you know,
that's just me
also
in my cat.
feel superior
Like any
to
proper
you,
parent would do.
as if they've got
Now,
some right to speak to you in ways that
you don't like it,
you know,
you get
no
up
lady
and
should
fuck
be
all the way
spoke to.
off. So I'll make
Some
sure that
people are
everybody
just
knows.
really disrespectful.
Ah,
And a lot of
now,
times, you know, a lot of times, them young women end up, you know, end up being attacked, and you know, bad things happening to them, and sometimes even being on live,
now,
you know, like these four was.
just
But
fuck
I
all the
think
way off, baby.
Brian, you know, possibly
I used to
had
like
his
it.
sights
Then you turn
set
into a
on
fucking
Maddie,
scumbag like PG.
and you know,
But it's alright for her to talk shit about my son, but I
the
can't talk shit about her. Where the fuck are your
other
morals?
girl just was in the wrong place, you know, at the right time.
Don't fuck God.
You know, and they said she fought the hardest. They said Kaylee fought the hardest of all of them. I think, you know, I think if he would have encountered them, if he would have encountered them, you know, um, awake, if he would have, you know, came upon them, you know,
suck on people.
awake, I don't think
PG's
he could have
fucking
took them. To
imaginary
be honest
salami.
with you,
Oh, fuck, come
I
back
think
here, baby.
somebody would have gotten out of the
You're not
house
welcome.
and got, you know, help. But because they were, you know, they'd been out and they were really partied hard, and you know, was really felt safe and passed out, you know,
Now,
um
now,
he had the upper hand, he had the advantage, you know.
now.
And when he walked into that room, you know, I think he got Maddie first, and that woke up Kaylee. And then Kaylee tried to fight as hard as she could, but didn't win. And then the other girl happened to come in, you know, happened to walk in and see him, and he saw her. And, you know, by the time she realized that, you know, this is a dangerous person, he was already on her, and, you know, in the hallway, away from where her boyfriend could really hear or be able to wake up in time to do anything. He had already, and I think he kind of drug her back, you know, back into the room where her boyfriend was. And that's when he got him. And this, you know, they said he even sat down. He even had a seat inside of Xana's room. There was a chair in there, and they know that he sat on it. They said that he must have been exhausted, you know, everything he had done. And that's why they believe that, you know, he didn't continue, didn't, you know, get nobody else, because he was just at that point thinking of, you know, getting out of there.
You know.
And the one girl you know, opened the door and seen him, and they said that they believe he didn't see her. And he was, you know, exhausted, wore out, had, you know, all of that head stuff, you know, kind of like blind, looking straight in front of him. I was focused on going, you know, straight out the way he came in, and that's exactly what he did. What I don't understand is the other girl that's seen him come by and leave, if she was scared enough to run down the basement, sleep with the other girl who, you know, finally answered the phone, I would think that she would have been afraid enough to call 911 and get law enforcement here to see, you know, who this guy was that just went out the door.
Oh, they're talking shit over there.
Because she don't know, you know, and especially if I came out to go, you know, if I came out of my room to go down to sleep with somebody else because I was, you know, and seen and looked down the hallway and saw, you know, one of my roommates laying on the floor like that, instead of being in their bed, I would have definitely been called 911. I'd have definitely, you know, been calling law enforcement saying, hey, you know, there was some guy all in, you know, all dressed in black, his whole face, ski mask and everything, went by and out the door. And I can't get a hold of none of the other people in the house, you know. I tried calling them. I can get a hold of none of them. I'm down in the basement, you know, with the only one I could get a hold of.
She's losing anything.
And as I was running down here, my roommate was on the floor. I'm not sure, you know, if something went down or it didn't, but I think you need to come out and look. Because I don't want to do it. Right? I'm scared. I mean, he may have went out and, you know, was coming back, right? He might have went out and was coming back.
Good luck.
So you need to come. But she didn't call 911. She didn't call nobody after seeing, you know, such a strange sight. She didn't call nobody. That just seems suspicious to me. I mean, you know,
kids would win my first or second wife.
It's just not something I think the normal, you know, the normal person would have done. Right? I was young once too. And I think that, you know, if I would have seen that, I'd have been calling 911, right?
Yeah.
I'd have definitely been on the phone.
Right, because it's all you do.
You know, with law enforcement. Even think I would have came to somebody else's room, burned myself in the room I was in, and called law enforcement, and I wouldn't have came out till they got there. They would have had to get me out. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't even had to see my roommate on the floor.
Unexpected.
Just seeing that guy would have been enough for me.
You know. Guys, this one's gonna end here.
I have
I
a
don't want to
theory
get it all
about
night.
that, actually. What do you
And I've been requested elsewhere. So I'm gonna go over there. You guys have a good night. I will see you guys in a little bit. If not, I'm not gonna sit here for the next 2 hours listening to this big ramble. But you guys have a good night. Thank y'all for being here. Much love.